Well, the reason they won't own up to it is because it is scandalous. Patriotism used to be the last refuge of the scoundrel, and today it's racism. And the Democrats know this. But the reason they are doing it is they can't argue on the economy. They can't argue on foreign policy. They can't argue on the competence of government. They can't argue really on anything. So they're left to invent the war on the women. And here is the war on African Americans.
And there it is. That's Charles Krauthammer weighing in on the eve of the midterm elections. We're going to start getting results tomorrow night, but everyone's talking about the polls that came in over the weekend, and the Republicans look to be in a very strong spot outside North Carolina, within striking distance in New Hampshire, and seem to be riding the ship in Kansas. With us right now, listening to that and saying, that's not new to me, Brian. I know this because I'm part of the team of chicks on the right. Miriam Weaver's here and Amy Jo Clark. They are the authors of Right for a Reason, Life, Liberty, and a crap load of common sense. Hey, welcome, chicks on the right. Miriam and Amy Jo, fantastic. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
And I thought I was going to have you on TV, but it's great at first. So that was going to be our warm-up for this. Mm-hmm. But first off, tell everybody how you got together, how this union happened.
So it's sort of a serendipitous story. I used to work in HR, and Amy Jo was a medical writer, and I ended up hiring her for a position at the company that I worked at, and discovered through that process that she grew up with my husband in Atlanta, Georgia. So we became instant best friends, and we're going to lunch every day talking about the election, because this was in August of 2008.
Right.
And we were wondering, who's this Obama guy, and why is everyone falling for him? And so Amy Jo said, we should start a show. We should start a blog.
Yeah, because we talk about this every day at lunch. We should start a blog. Maybe our parents will read it or whatever. And so we did, and that was almost 6 years ago. And organically, it just grew like crazy.
So to the point where you have over 700,000 followers on Facebook alone?
Mm-hmm. And then we have a drive time radio show now. We have a column in the Indy Star. And we just, like I was telling you before we got on the air, it's just very organic. You know, it's one of those things where it's just taken off, because I think people are really hungry for real straight talk. And that's what we provide people. It's kind of like we're talking over lunch or talking to people, you know, like we're just two girlfriends, you know, chatting about politics. And it's not wonky, you know, pundit talk, if you will.
Right. And you said common sense. I think on the right and left, you don't have a lot of candor.
Yeah.
And when someone's candid, and that's why I think Governor Christie, to a degree, maybe he's too far, when he's candid, said, shut the hell up and sit down, people are like, wow, that's what happens in my life when I talk too much. That's what I get told.
That's exactly right. That's why we always
I don't know if that resonates with the people of Indianapolis, though, does it?
Well, I think to some degree. I mean, some people might find a Christie, for example, real abrasive, but for us, we love the straight shooting. We love people who say what they mean and mean what they say. And we always talk about, and we talk about this in our book, Right for a Reason, that political correctness is a real problem. And it's changing the way that people communicate, so there's less of that straight talk.
Yeah, and people in the Midwest, they love honesty, and that's one thing that we do provide.
Does it bother you, the war on women? You were not on the radio in 2013, correct? In 2012.
Right. In 2012.
Right, but the war on women was happening. And it was pointed in the, if I remember correctly, the spring after Mitt Romney got the nomination, the spring, that's when the White House the Democrats went after him with the war on women. Well, how does this resonate with you when 74-year-old Senator Tom Harkin, about to be the former senator, says this on Sunday, cut 16?
I've been watching some of these ads, and there's sort of this sense that, well, you know, I heard someone say, well, Joni Ernst, she's really attractive. And she sounds nice. Well, I got to thinking about that. I don't care if she's as good looking as Taylor Swift or as nice as Mr. Rogers. But if she votes like Michelle Bachmann, she's wrong for the state of Iowa.
How do you feel about that?
I wrote about this last night. Can you imagine if this was a Republican saying this? People would be going nuts today.
And they would be saying exactly war on women. They'd be complaining about the war.
I find it staggering, too, because Senator Kirsten Gillibrand sold any books that she might have sold was about the sexism that she experienced when she went, because she's an attractive woman, went to the chamber, went to the Senate. She gets a lot of catcalls and inappropriate conversation, and the world is outraged. Where's the outrage from 74-year-old Tom Harkin?
Yeah. And, Joni is she is a beautiful woman. She really is. But why is it that he is allowed to go there?
Right.
And he is given a pass? I mean, like I said, if this was a Republican man, he would just be skewered for this.
But I would say this, and tell me if I'm wrong here. I heard Senator Thune. People think he's an attractive guy, right? People go, wow, look at this guy. He's 6'2", 6'3", basketball player, athletic. I wouldn't be insulted if a woman said, wow, he's a good-looking guy, Senator Tom Thune. I actually don't have a problem with someone pointing out that a woman is attractive. Is that
well,
bad?
neither do we. Yeah,
I don't think we do either. Now, we mention actually an instance of that in our book where there was an Indiana congressman, for example, who made a comment to a CNN reporter about her looks, and it absolutely didn't fit the conversation at all. It was an inappropriate from a timing perspective. But I think, like you, everyone has gotten so oversensitive and hyper-reactive to those kinds of comments that now it's like people are looking for them.
Well, you got to see the classes we go through now to talk about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate at the workplace because of the plethora
we went through
of
the same thing when we first started on the air.
Well, we talk about this also in the book, is that it's a political correctness thing, and political correctness has become this huge cancer on our society. We are just not politically correct at all, probably to a fault.
That's good. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Amy Jo Clark is here. Miriam Weaver are here together. They're chicks on the right, and their book is Right for a Reason, Liberty, and a Crapload of Common Sense. Can I ask you from your perspective, what do women care about then? When they call your show and they give you feedback on your columns, what is number one in your unofficial survey, and what's number two and what's number three?
The economy, jobs, national security.
What about equal pay?
That it's not an issue. I mean, I think, and we've talked so much about this on our website. We've written a lot, and we've also included videos from one of our friends, Christina Hoff Sommers, who's proven time and again that this wage gap thing is just a myth, that it's been debunked, and we don't understand why it keeps coming up. So, what we hear about from women, what they care about is their families. They care about putting food on the table. They care about being able to work and find good employment to take care of the needs of the household.
Well, I think I know why it keeps coming up, and that's because they can scare women. This is how the left scares women. They use stuff like that, and they use lady parts,
right? And
they use, hey, they're going to take your birth control away, because that is how they get women to vote on their side. They distract women this way.
Where have Republicans missed? I saw Rand Paul call out Republicans about their brand sucks. He said, where do the Republicans miss the message?
Well, I think when he said that, I think he was actually dead on, because we are really bad at messaging. We're bad at getting in front of the message. We're a little bit more reactive instead of being proactive in our messaging. And that's what we need to work on. We need to own messaging more instead of waiting for it to be served up to us. That's what we need to get a little bit better at.
And we find ourselves on the defense a lot, particularly as it relates to social issues, which we're not, as a party, we're just terrible at talking about. And so it's just like Amy Jo said, we suck as a party at messaging. And that's one of the things that we try to address in our book.
All right. So you're out there. You're shocked at how your column resonates. And I'm sure another thing comes up that you're going to be talking about with Jeb Bush, and that's Common Core. That's another thing. If you talk about families and education, that doesn't necessarily cut right and left.
That's true.
Do you take questions on that? Have you written about the education, those tests?
We have, and we've talked to a mom that's been, at the forefront of that fight in Indiana.
Yep.
So it's something that we've addressed. It's something women really care about. It's something families care about, and it has a huge impact on our kids.
I'll tell you, congratulations on your book. You take your columns, you're proven writers, but now you put into a book, Right for a Reason, Life, Liberty, and a Crapload of Common Sense. Miriam Weaver, Amy Jo Clark. It's nice to know I can say crap and not get in trouble. Great meeting you.
Thank you. Nice
Congratulations
to meet you.
on all your
Thank
success.
you so much.
Hey, go to our Facebook page. Look at all our pictures from last week. Thanks for listening, everybody.